19 years now, and he's a really good guy, loving father, good spouse. Okay, seriously, so I got 15 minutes to give you the all my children update about Republic Airways. We'll start with some of the statistics. We have 189 Embraer 170, 175 E-jets in our portfolio. Over the last 18 months, we've added about 30 aircraft, a combination of new and used kit, 12 new, 18 used kit to the operation. We've had great success in returning the business back to its consistently high levels of operational reliability. For the past 2.5 years, we've been running controllable completion factor in the 99.97% range. So again, we're getting really used to not canceling flights for anything within our control. Unfortunately, we operate in the best places in the planet, namely New York. And of course, we have these things called thunderstorms and weather and whatnot that do have significant impacts on total operational reliability. But our team does a great job of working through that and maintaining high levels of customer excellence. I'll tell you, we've got a staff today that's right at about 5,800 people. And in terms of pilot content, that's right at 2,200 pilots, 2,100 flight attendants, about 800 technicians, and then the balance is administrative staff, dispatchers, training and whatnot. So great team. Passed our restructuring process. Really been focused on employee culture. We've always had a great culture outlook at Republic. We celebrate diversity, respecting our employees, trusting and taking care of each other. That got challenged during some difficult pilot negotiations back in the 24 to 2015 cycle. But the good news is we really paid a lot of attention to redeveloping culture at Republic, and I think that's something that is now, it's a shared responsibility. It's something that even our labor unions appreciate and help us promote. So we feel like we're in a much better position today than frankly we've been in our 44-year history. As you heard in my comments earlier today, feels like for the first time ever, the industry has a consensus that there is a pilot shortage. And like any struggle that you have in life, the first step on the path to recovery is admitting you have a problem. And the fact that we have so many people, both in the industry, with our regulators, and even in our with our legislators, there is a acceptance, that we have a problem, and therefore that gives me hope that we can now unlock some collaboration in finding solutions. I'm very encouraged by Acting Administrator Elwell's comments of support today. Clearly, we've got the best minds in industry globally here in the United States. We can come up with better ways to train pilots for the future. And we need to do that. We need to show leadership in this area. And the world is looking to us to lead again. It's time for us to meet those obligations and rethink how we create pilots of the future. And it's not just a pilot issue, of course, it's a technician issue as well. Aircraft are being innovated with glass cockpits, lots of automation, self-diagnostics, predictive diagnostics, and yet we're still requiring A&Ps to learn how to glue and dope, structures. We've got to bring technical training into the 21st century. We're going to need our partners at the FAA, the regulator side, and even in academia to help us do that. But we can do it. We know how to do it, and we need to do it now. So I'm very excited, more optimistic than ever about the future. And again, I think the regional airlines are well positioned to do what we're supposed to do, which is continue to grow access to the nation's transportation system here in the United States. And it's something that's atrophied over the last 10 years, and it's time for us to fix that and get us back on a pathway to sustainable, profitable growth. And so that's what Republic's working on. We've obviously invested in our people, we've invested in technology, and we've recently announced an order for 100 Embraer E-jets. So we're not only telling you we're optimistic about the future, but we're investing our equity in areas where we think we have competitive advantage, and certainly our position in the E-Jet space is a worldwide leadership position, and we intend to maintain that and to accelerate it. So with that, I'll be happy to take questions. Yes?
Regarding the order for the E-Jets, where will they be flown and for whom?
Well, so the order today is delivering over the next 6 years. So the first delivery positions will not come to us until mid-2020. And certainly well before that time, we'll announce where they're going to go and who they're going to be operating with.
So at this time, you don't know, or you're not announcing?
We're just not announcing it. Any other questions? Yes?
Yeah, if the pilot problem were figured out, I mean, do you see a path for regional air service growing again? Because there are some who make arguments that basically the networks at major airports are so large now, it's just people would prefer to drive the hour and a half or whatever in a lot of cases and go into the major market, not drive from say Cheyenne to Denver, and then have a million places they can go to.
Yeah, so I don't think anybody believes that we're going to displace the car for a 90-minute drive to the airport. But if you look at a market, say Milwaukee to Grand Rapids, it's a 100-mile by flight route, but it's a 400-mile trip around Lake Michigan to get there. So I think there are always going to be markets where nonstop air service are going to be better than the drive option, but due to the lack of pilots, we can't sustain or satisfy that demand. And clearly, regionals do synergistic to the global airspace. And one of the ways we unlocked that was through capacity purchase agreements. We got rid of the argument over who's a more value-added traveler to take, somebody from Bowling Green through Detroit to Tokyo, or somebody from Bowling Green to just Detroit. By allowing the network carriers to manage revenue optimization, O&D management, if you will, we're allowing the network carrier to decide who's the most valuable customer, but you still have to have service from Bowling Green. And I don't think we're going to see Airbuses and 737s flying to Chattanooga or to Lexington, Kentucky, et cetera, et cetera. So I think the reality is the regionals are critical to the sustainable health of the industry. And as talking this morning, I think one of the places where we've been remiss is looking at technology to create the next generation small turboprop aircraft. Now, is that an electric prop hybrid? Possibly. But we certainly are going to need something that's innovative, and we haven't seen that happen in this space. And as a consequence of that, we've seen a significant amount of disconnection of small town America. I can tell you in Des Moines, Iowa, they don't want to drive to Minneapolis in order to get connected to the nation's transportation system.
But let me just follow up on that. The tech piece, we see so much more efficient aircraft than the larger ones. So if you get that in a 50-seater, how important would that be to your ability to be profitable and the expansion?
Well, let's put the seat density onto the side for a second. Clearly, in markets where the O&Ds are smaller, the smaller aircraft are still going to have to be, affordable in order to deliver a total trip cost that's will incent people to get off the highways, or perhaps may incent people to reorient how they travel today. And again, I don't know whether that's possible or not. What I don't see is people trying to ascertain whether or not that's an opportunity that should be satisfied. And so we see a lot of conversation about urban air mobility, right? We see a lot of conversations of how to move 2, 3, or 4 people, from point A to point B within a 25-mile radius. So we see a lot of energy going into this sort of Uber prospects of the sky. And someday maybe that will be relevant. But I think the same is true about moving 150 miles. Is there technology that will make that opportunity affordable? I'd like to believe we could get good minds working on it and unlock some of those questions. All right, yeah, how much time do I have?
4 more minutes.
4 more minutes.
We don't want to
We don't want to step on your mic, Linda. Okay, 4 minutes. Any more questions? Yes.
Possible merger with Trans-States, where does that stand?
Say again?
Possible merger with Trans-States, where does that stand?
Well, based on the latest reports I read, it doesn't stand anywhere. So we don't comment on merger, transactional activities. We didn't comment when the rumor came out that there was a deal. And now that the same rumor is there isn't a deal, kind of feels like we're back to the future. I think in broad strokes, the industry, even though it has consolidated over the last 10 years, it's still relatively fragmented compared to where we see the majors at. So I certainly don't think it's unreasonable to expect we'll see some form of continued rationalization in the regional space. How we get that, remains to be seen. Republic today is focused on organic development. You touched on the order about, well, we want to know when it's coming and where it's going and who it's going to go with. I mean, Republic over the last 20 years has purchased over 350 Embraer regional jets, 32 Q400s and some number of 40 CRJ200s. I mean, so over 400 aircraft in the last 20 years. So doing a 100 airplane order over 6 years is kind of like normal for us. So you look at the opportunities in the marketplace today, there's 750 seaters that are going to become economically obsolete over the next 6 to 10 years. There's an installed kit of 70-seat dual-class aircraft that within the next 10 years will become economically obsolete. So we don't think the industry, despite some of the concerns we heard back here, we don't think the industry is just going to continue to atrophy. There is demand for what we do, and having the inventory to sell is kind of a critical component for how we run our business.
Could you expand on that? Where do you see the growth coming from?
Well, who says it's growth? I mean, what we're seeing is a marketplace that today is operating aircraft that are 15 to 20 years old. Those airplanes have a finite life cycle, so they're going to have to be replaced. Now, today they're not making new 50-seaters, at least I'm not aware of any. So the question is, what's ultimately going to replace this installed kit?
So that E-Jet order, a large portion of that is replacement aircraft rather than being used for growth, or?
Would it be growth for Republic?
Okay.
Linda, I'm going to turn the mic over to you.